Good morning, everyone. It's lovely to see you here. Thank you so much for joining us. In case this is the first time you are meeting me, my name is Rena Hicks, and you are watching MoneyWise Live. We have this MoneyWise shows every Friday from 8 to 9 a.m. And today we are looking at branding. I'm so excited to be here. I mean, one of the things that I've learned in this last week as I was doing my research is a statement that was made by a gentleman called Gary Vee. And he said the single most important thing you can do for your business is grow your brand. Forget putting colors somewhere or trying to get the best suppliers or the best raw materials at the cheapest prices. Forget all that. That branding is the single most important thing you can do for your business. And so do you know what? I have a brand expert here. I am so thrilled to have Mary Mutano Gitari on the show live. She's a PR and brand expert. And I know her from so far. We were in high school together. We go to the same church. I know her family. And I am so thrilled to have you here, Mary. Thank you for taking the time to come and to answer all our questions. So if you have any questions on branding and how to grow your bottom line, because that's what we're going to be discussing today, through growing your brand, please start asking and we will be sure to answer them as we go. And in case you're not watching this live, feel free to continue asking. I will get Mary to come back to our comment section and to respond to the questions.
Yeah.
So thank you for being here, Mary.
Thank you for having me, Rena.
You are most welcome.
Yeah.
So I'd like us to start with you introducing yourself and then we'll get into the topic of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very hard for women to introduce themselves, I find, or just human beings in general.
Yeah.
It's like everything flies out of your mind. But I like to say that I'm a marketing communications enthusiast. And what that means is I really believe in the power of using marketing to grow your business. And I've studied and practiced now marketing for a long time, and I specialize in PR. And what that means is just how do we get people to be seen, to be known, to be heard. So now I'm an advisor with my firm, Brandspark PR, and that's what we've been doing for companies for the last 10 years.
Wow. That's amazing. I want to be seen, to be known, and to be heard. And we're going to be discussing about that just now. So what's a brand and what's branding? And perhaps let's start there. Let's build context. And then,
Okay. So I'll talk about it from a business perspective, because the thing about a brand, it's a promise. It's when people interact with you, what do they expect? When they interact with MoneyWise, what's the expectation? So I'm expecting that I will learn something about, finances from you. And it's a promise that you've given me, either through your tagline or through your logo or even through just the name of the business. Whatever conjures in my mind when I hear what the name of your business is, I tend to start building either my own expectations, and if you help me to refine that perception, then you begin to help to build the brand. So it's a promise. Think about it as a promise.
I like that.
Yeah.
So, many times when we start a business, we're thinking, okay, what's the need? And you, identify the need, and then you're like, okay, what solution can I develop to meet this need? And then you develop the solution, you meet the need, you get a few customers, and initially you begin with word of mouth and getting, word out there that I now have a business, I'm providing a solution for this need. But the hardest thing I have found for myself, I don't know about guys out there, but for myself, the hardest thing has been pushing, promoting, telling people, guys, come, I want to sell to you. And selling is not very easy. And I find that especially for African businesses. Why is that, do you think?
I think there are all these things that we've interacted with in our culture. We've had sayings like kibaya chaji tembeza, kizuri chajiuza, things like that build and they'll come. And what we do is that we think that if we focus on creating such a good product, then it will just be a magnet for everybody. And we forget the 4 P's of marketing. So in marketing, when you're growing your business, there are 4 things that you must have. And I think you've mentioned them. You must have your product, you must have your price, you must have the place you're going to sell, that's the market. And then the 4th P is promotion. You must think about how am I going to let people know about my business, know about my product. And therefore, we as African entrepreneurs, we are always going back to the three others. When you find that you've hit a wall and a hitch, you forget about thinking through your promotion strategy, and you go back to creating new products. So we're always in this cycle of...
Or reducing the price.
Yeah, so you create the product, or you reduce the price, or you figure out, let me take my oranges from this market to another market, as opposed to thinking, did I use all the tools I have in my arsenal in the promotions? And I'll just mention them. I always talk about it as a 5-finger story.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, so the first one is advertising. It's what you said. The first thing people know about your product, what is that unique selling point that you have? If you're selling oranges and they're the juiciest, they're the yummiest, they're the most fresh, that's what you'll say. But you'll say, I'm selling oranges.
Are in Kenya. Like if you get a pixie orange, they're all yummy and fresh.
Yes.
And so how do I differentiate mine?
So you'll say Rina's oranges, the juiciest, freshest, from somewhere, Kambani, I'm sure. So you'll find a way to really advertise. And advertising is one-way communication. So it's one way where you tell people about it. You've heard the story, the difference between advertising and PR. Advertising is saying, I am the best. PR is saying, it's getting somebody else to say
yes,
she is the best.
Yes.
So advertising is the first tool.
Okay.
And the second one is promotion.
Okay.
Where if those oranges are becoming just a little bit squishy, you'll say, buy 5, get 2 free. So you
get them to
want
fly
to
off the shelf.
Offload, right? And then you have direct marketing, which is now using your contacts, your all automated tools, your DMs, everything to do with that.
DMs are?
Oh, direct messages, direct messages.
Okay.
So you'll go on your WhatsApp platform and you'll send people a broadcast list and say, I have these oranges and I'm selling them. If you buy 5, you'll get 2 free. And you're using all those tools to get into people's inboxes and to tell them what you have. Newsletters, you've received all these bulk SMSs from supermarkets, right? So that's direct marketing. And then the personal selling.
That's the fourth one.
The fourth tool in the promotions arsenal is personal selling. So I come in and now I use my networks and I tell
your friends, your
my
family.
friends, I tell my family,
your
like,
workmates.
you guys have oranges, please buy from me. Now, PR and publicity is where I fall, and we use the power of stories. So I'll find somebody who has eaten your oranges, who can say truthfully what their experience was. They'll say, I squeezed a full glass of juice from this one orange that Rina sold
even
me.
a half of an orange.
Of an orange. So you find stories that then begin to endear when it comes to the perceptions. They begin to shape the perceptions of what somebody will think, because there are always things that people are holding back on when they're buying products from you. So they're thinking, it's going to be too expensive. Oh, it's not going to be worth my time. Oh, it's not going to be. So PR breaks down all those barriers by ensuring that we're telling stories of how other people have experienced your product, and they shape your perception. And now you're like, if Angela, who is Rina's friend, used this, then definitely I'll give it a try. And then if you like it and you give a testimonial and a thumbs up, all the likes on Facebook,
then someone else wants to try it.
Yeah, the story goes on.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Okay, so I think the question in my head right now is, okay, this sounds fantastic. Like, I want this. But is it even affordable? How do companies that are literally been 2 years, I've tested the market, I have done 2 years in the game, I now know what I need to do to my product, to my service, to be able to sell more. How can I do this in a cost-effective way so that I can actually afford to do it, so that I don't ignore it because it's going to grow my bottom line?
Yeah.
But I can't afford to pay a lot of money for PR, for advertising, for promotions. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So the first thing is to be deliberate about it.
Okay.
Just the way that you look at your reports for the month and you ask yourself, how did my product do? How much money did I make from a pricing perspective? How many oranges did I sell? For place perspective, you ask yourself, where did I receive the greatest return?
Okay.
You know, is it in the supermarket? Is it in when I ask my friends to buy? So we're constantly looking at all these metrics. And the fourth one, which, I mean, we talked about the promotions being the fourth P, is we forget to measure that. We forget to ask ourselves, what have I done that has given me the most value? And when you now put it as part of your business checklist, then you understand that it doesn't have to be an expensive endeavor, and it's a quick review of all the things that you've done. So if you've used, you might not be able to use advertising right this minute, right? But you maybe used your social media pages, and you've told people, we have this amazing product, let's give you a free trial. How many people have actually taken that up? So it's just to do that quick fourth P checklist, and to ask yourself, what is currently working? Is it when I send my friends messages on a broadcast list? It's as simple as that. So you don't have to think about it from a very complex perspective, where you have to engage the services of a super professional to do it for you. You can actually do it for yourself. There's PR for dummies, there's marketing for dummies, books that you can read. But I think for me, the value of having an expert come on board is to help you to start to build a resilient brand. And when I talk about resilience, it's what you said at the beginning. When you strip away everything from your business, the last thing you're left with is your brand. You could have fantastic employees and they're poached. You could have a fantastic product and COVID comes and you have to restructure and to think about it and start again. But what you've done by building your brand is what people will remember. They'll come back to Rena Hicks and they'll say, maybe something you used to do before didn't work, but I really connected with what you did for me. And I really connected. So PR is about engaging people, and also just dialogue, sharing your story.
The statement that you've made, that whole stripping of the brand, it has reminded me of, and the picture that came to my mind was Nakumat. Because if there's a brand that has been stripped off of everything, or a company, let me say, not a brand, is Nakumat.
Yeah.
But I remember a couple of weeks ago, I was with my sister and my brother in their house, and there's a gadget that we're using in the kitchen, and I remember saying, oh my gosh, where did you get that? Like, mine doesn't work really well. I want one like that. And they were like, imagine, I miss Nakumat so much, is what my sister said, because this is where I got it, and I used to get such nice things from Nakumat. And this is how many years, I mean, it's been a while since there was a Nakumat open. And the point is that I think I told you about it, and you said, if Nakumat were to open today, we would still walk into Nakumat, because the brand promise, you need it,
we've got it.
It's still there. Like, if you need something, just walk into a Nakumat and you get it.
So the promise, they delivered on it.
They did.
And they kept delivering on it.
They did.
And they kept telling people about it, right? So either through endorsement, like you're saying, somebody else came in and said, I was looking for this gadget. I looked everywhere. I went to Nakumat, I found it. So it was true.
Wow. So this lady, I'm trying to remember, Marie Folio said that a great brand, she says, a great brand is one that is refreshingly real. And she says one that's relatable, not stoic and poised. And I remember her giving this example of how people even change their voices. I mean, you're the proprietor of this company, or you're the founder of the company. As soon as you're standing in front of a camera, even your accent changes, your voice takes another shape, and it's like, we are the best, and you talk in this way that people just don't relate with. And so she actually did a case study where she was looking at different companies who were just real. They said, you guys, we manufactured t-shirts in America. We want, we're all about fair trade, and so we decided we're not going to go and take advantage of people in other countries, but it didn't work. Our sweaters were shapeless, it wasn't good, it was high cost, and so we decided to go to Thailand. And in Thailand, we got really good prices, but we still practice fair trade. And so they're like, we made a mistake, we've worked through it, and now this is what we're doing. Relatable, real, and not poised. Sometimes we are so afraid to make mistakes, but I'm shocked that people actually identify with the mistakes that you make if you're real about them. It would tell me something about that.
Well, I think brands like, you've heard of Virgin Atlantic and Richard Branson.
Yes.
I mean, with all the stammering and everything about him that he has leveraged on to actually make a relatable brand compared to very, British Airways type, we will fly you, we're the flag carrier, and things like that. And I don't mean to make fun of their brand, but I'm just in comparison to what Richard Branson did
because
with Virgin Atlantic.
Fun.
Yeah,
he's for jumping off planes and I don't know doing what. I remember reading his book, Losing My Virginity. I could not, it was this thick. I couldn't put it down. Because I'm like, how does this guy speak like this? You know, he speaks his mind and he just comes off as a really fun character with all his flaws.
People want to connect with the brand. They want to connect with it as if it were a person. That if they were to meet on the street, they would be able to say, I know KCB, I know KCB online. You know, those guys who make fun in the morning. You
what
know,
do they say?
Their online platform is always so refreshing. You know, like, this is me looking into the weekend. And they come up with all these memes and they make the brand relatable to different target audiences. Obviously, they're now trying to attract a younger target audience because originally they were, you know, all our fathers and grandfathers were faithful bankers at KCB. And for them to actually shake off that we're old people's bank, they had to come down and start talking the language of the younger people, the millennials. And that has actually endeared them a lot online. I think of other brands like Chase Bank. When they were there, right?
And in fact, you mentioned Chase Bank. I'm like, what other brands have you guys interacted with that you're just like, this is an amazing brand, even if it's a friend's business? Please share in the comment section. You were saying Chase Bank, the relationship bank.
The relationship bank.
I miss Chase Bank.
I know, right?
I do.
And what they did for entrepreneurs is the same thing that Move and NIC had done for the professional working fast job person who didn't have time to go to the bank at 3 p.m. I mean, who does that, right? But then they opened their banking hours. They opened on Sundays. They came to you to take photos. So they completely disrupted the system. And when they were authentic, people love to connect with, because we're all flawed human beings.
Okay, let's talk about authenticity for a second. I mean, we all make mistakes, right? And I want us to discuss mistakes brands have made and how do you get out of that? The first one that comes into mind is Art Cafe. And I even remember you did a bit of a thing with it, and it's on YouTube. Tell me about that. So these guys wanted to design a cup for their
holiday
coffee
season.
It was for the holiday season. And then, tell us about that.
So what happened is they designed this amazing competition. They wanted artists to come together and give them designs for they call them the holiday promotion cup, the holiday cup. And this is something I think they've done before, but now they opened it up to the public.
Okay.
And it's like those tenders, you know, those ones you're told logo design.
Yes, I've seen those.
You've seen those ones, right?
Gifts will get, winners get this gift.
Right.
Yes.
So they now literally crowdsourcing artwork from different artists. And they had these terms and conditions that were completely offensive to the community, to the artist community, because they say we'll pay you in exposure, we'll make sure that your artwork is put on our walls, and we'll make sure that you're going to get free coffee for the whole year.
Artists were not happy.
Artists were, first of all, that word exposure is a trigger word, because it feels like it's exploitation. Like, you give me everything you have, and then I will make sure that somebody sees it, and maybe, God willing, they buy from you.
And you know, they were coming from a place of actually wanting to help artists.
They were, and you know, before I even did the video, I actually had called the team, because I'd worked with them before, and I called the team and I asked them what happened, what went wrong, like, why is all this backlash happening? And they told me that we honestly did not think it would, elicit such anger from the public. And the only thing the reason I did the video was to ask the artist to say, what would you like Art Cafe to do? What do you think they can do to correct this? Because it was going somewhere and then it backfired. And nobody is perfect, Rina. Everybody is going to make a mistake at one point of their lives. But if you've been consistent and if you've been building your brand and telling people that we are flawed, but we are here for you. Wow. We're like you. We want to connect with you, and we want to hear from you. And you know about customer service being one of those, being listening more than you're talking even. So generating those insights from your public, and they did. They actually listened. They gave a cash reward. I think
they give a cash reward.
They did.
So the competition has happened.
So the competition happened. Okay. People were happy to. There were some people who are not offended, and they were like, actually, it would be an honor for me to have my artwork in your, because as it's lying here, no one is seeing it. So I'm actually happy to take up the opportunity. But I think what the advocacy from the artist community was we cannot keep using these same lines on us. If you have money to give free coffee, please turn that free coffee into a cash reward, because many of us are struggling. It's COVID times. Make sure that you're being considerate of where we are right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a question that has come in, which I think is part of what we're talking about. And the question is from Baire Kamau. He says, what are the fundamental components one needs for a successful brand? I think you went through them, but maybe you can just summarize a little bit again. So I think, okay, so first of all, what we're talking about now is about being relatable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being authentic.
Being authentic.
Transparent.
Being transparent.
Right.
What does that mean for a brand?
When we think about transparency, people think that it's opening up all your secrets and telling people, this is how I am making money. But what people want to know is, can I trust your process? Remember, brand building is about a relationship. Okay. Because you've told me it's a promise. You're entering into a relationship or even a contract with me for some, in some very high end instances. But it's almost like a relationship. I'm starting with you, and you want me to know who you are. Remember, we talked about helping you to be seen, to be known, and to be heard. If Rina, I'm going to know you, I mean, I'm going to have to come to your house at some point, and figure out what is it that makes you who you are. Yeah. And so something like a bread company that doesn't want to reveal the machine it's using, but want to tell people that it's actually using very high-end processes, will record the process and will get even the chefs to say, we come in at this time. We prepare our dough at this time. It rises for X hours. We use gloves to touch it. Then I'll be like, okay, now I trust your process. And because I trust your process, I'm going to keep buying from you.
Which company does that here? Even small ones.
Think about Kenchik Farm to Fork. You know how they do their process. They tell you that we work with local farmers. We ensure that their products are high quality. We certify them. There are companies that do this. Yeah. It's not a foreign
concept.
Concept.
It's not foreign, but I'm like, why don't we do that? Why don't we do that? Which, like, the bread company is such a great example. Yeah. That actually when you talk about those things, you have a way with words. I mean, I'm listening to you describe the way this bread is being made, and I'm like, I think I want to eat that. Yeah. And I want to eat that bread. Yeah. It sounds like it's done really well.
And it's the same for anybody. How you bank, how we help you to make a decision, how we make our tissue, how we use your money when, especially financial institutions, need to open themselves up to these transparent processes.
Actually, since I'm in that service, you can tell me, how do you do that? Because we find it difficult. Yeah. Sometimes you interact with something so much that you think people can see and they know how everything is done. So let's use that as another example.
I think you've actually helped people a lot, just from the shows that I've watched before and the talks that I've had you give. You're able to articulate the objective of what you are, if it's an investment opportunity, for example. You're saying that you have to hear, what do you want me? What do I want the money to do for me, so to speak? So it's not, you have to understand the customer's need. You have to help them to understand the different vehicles for investment that there are, and then you advise them, and then you keep talking to them so often. So when I understand that process, already I'm comfortable, as opposed to somebody who will completely lock in and say, or you give me your money, I'm the expert.
I
Deal with
see.
it. I'll come. You know, you know how we'll call you. You had that line. Don't call us.
Don't
we'll
call
call
us.
you. So
Okay.
it's trying to be transparent, and we do it behind closed doors. We just don't document those processes and tell the world. And yet, Rina, we could move beyond our word of mouth crowd. We could move beyond our, you know, small. If you're reaching, I don't know, 2,000 people with a great staff and great customer service, can you imagine if you use promotion to sell those same things that you're doing and let the whole world know? You could reach a whole new market. So that's the process of marketing, reaching new markets using promotion.
And this applies not just to for-profit businesses, it applies to government agencies, it
Yeah.
applies to NGOs.
My heart bleeds when I think about Kenya and how we have such good things that we do, but we don't tell the world. We allow other media to report for us our stories, and they see things through their lenses, and therefore, I don't know, even from you know how different counties should just, when you're in the States, you see this is Nebraska, the county of. When you're going through Kenya, you don't know. You don't know where you are.
It's
You
so
don't know what
true.
that county does. You're just, you know, crossing your fingers and saying, I hope I've reached Kisumu.
Okay, let's break this down so that somebody who's out there actually understands what steps do I need to make, like tomorrow when I wake up in the morning, or even now, it's just, I've just woken up. What do I
Yeah.
need to start doing? Let's give an example of maybe in this COVID season, I've discovered I'm a baker and I want to
Yeah.
start baking bread or
Yeah.
cakes, or samosas and chapatis as well,
Yeah.
and selling them. Where do I begin?
So the first thing is you have to refine your story. You have to, what I mean by that is it's very difficult for me to deliver my point in 17,000 words.
Okay.
I have to know that if I'm talking to Rina, she will help me with this. People have very short attention spans.
Okay.
So find your voice, find your story, right? If you want to be seen, you also need to, I'm just going to put them in those three categories, yeah? You want to be seen, you want to be known, you want to be heard. So if you're being seen, what is it that people see when they interact with you? Is it your logo? Does it look weird? I mean,
Okay, so start by getting a logo
start
designed.
by looking at the aesthetics around what you're selling. Does anybody want to interact with what you're selling? Yeah. So anything around, and we talk about building this from the inside out. I could be going out to tell the world that I am a very good financial advisor. Let me just speak that. But then when I come to your office, Rina, I cannot see anything that helps me to believe that you're a good financial advisor. When I ask you about your life, you say, me I lizard, I did what? You're like, this story is not holding together.
Yeah.
Because we're building trust. We're building trust, and it has to start from the inside. So if this baker wakes up early in the morning and they say, I'm starting my business tomorrow. So do they have their product? Yes. Do they have their price? Yes. Do they have the place they're selling? They're probably selling online. Now, from a promotions perspective, start with the aesthetics. What are people going to see? Are they going to see a logo? Are they going to see the bread? What are they going to see? Then what are you going to tell them to be heard? Yeah. What's your story? Are you the best baker in
Craft
town?
a story around
Yeah.
your bread.
Are you
or your cakes.
what is it that you're going to say? Or are you going to say, you know how people say, oh, Moya sunlight. What are people going to say, Rina? What is it that we're going to say? When people hear, does it sound...
that's hilarious.
Yeah, does it sound believable? So you have to craft a story that is believable. And crafting doesn't mean that you lie. It's finding the specific truths, the real reason. And when I'm helping people to understand this, I ask them questions like, why? Why does your business need to exist? If you did not exist, what would happen in the world?
Okay.
You know, what would go wrong?
So it's also about your unique selling
It's
proposition.
your unique selling proposition. That
your competitive edge,
Yeah.
that thing that you offer
Yeah.
really well that nobody else
Yeah.
where you are does.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you have your story, Then, what's the last one? Being seen,
So
being
where do you
known, being
communicate?
heard.
Sorry, we're still on being heard.
Okay.
Where do you communicate and how do you communicate? So I have crafted my story. It's written down.
Yeah.
We do the most sumptuous,
Yeah.
healthy cakes.
Yeah.
Right?
We use gluten-free.
Yeah, like I remember these pizzas that were called Naked Pizza. Do you remember Naked
I
Pizza?
remember Naked
I loved
Pizza.
the advertising. Like, I'm like, I like eating healthy. And so I can eat healthy pizza.
Yeah.
So that sold me. Anyway, so where do you communicate that? Is that at low budget?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, that's a really good question because we're going into process now. So the first thing you have to do is ask yourself, who do I want to sell this to? Do I want to sell this to healthy people? Do I want to sell, if I'm making healthy bread, then I'm probably looking for a working mom who doesn't have time to make the bread by herself. So I have to look at going to the audience. Who am I selling to?
So
and even
people.
Yeah, people. Who am I selling to? So your people, your audience will help you to determine. Then you ask yourself, where do these people interact with content?
Yeah.
If Rina is busy and she loves eating healthy, but she's only on WhatsApp, that's a place to start. You see, she might not be seeing YouTube, my YouTube page. She might not see my Facebook page, but I know she's the kind of person who is constantly doing work on her phone. Therefore, if I put it on my WhatsApp status, if I put her on a broadcast list and ask her, can I put you on my broadcast list? I'm starting to make bread and I think I'd like to let you know when the bread is out. And then you can order if you like, you know. So very small things. So know your people, know the platforms they're using most of the time. And then, so I think
there was to be seen,
to be known, and then to be heard, right? To
be heard.
Yeah.
To be known.
To be known is now, what is it about you that is? I think we've talked about being unique, but can you add other things about your? I've always struggled with health issues. You know, being relatable, engaging, and having dialogue with people. So small little videos. I have a friend of mine. She sells organic produce from her farm, and she actually does a video every day about her experience.
Oh yeah.
Getting her produce from her farm to her shop.
Oh wow.
So she has a broadcast list, very small things. She has her phone and she documents. When she's leaving the farm, she's like, guys, I'm in my pro box. I've been in here for 5 hours. I know you guys are expecting this produce to be here at this time. You know, we talked about being real and authenticity.
Wow.
So what is it that people can know about you so that they connect with you, right? And then how can you also use other people's stories? So you'd say, Mary has bought from Sylvia's Basket organic produce.
Oh, this is Sylvia's Basket.
Yeah, how was it? How was the organic? So asking people, what did you like about my produce? And then, you know, sharing that to people. When I buy from her, I'm always like, the produce was good because. So also getting people's testimonials will help people to know why they should buy from you. Because guys are always like, what's in it for me, man?
That's
What's
amazing.
in it for me?
Okay, so then there's this question. I think we've talked about it before, not today, but on another separate occasion. Okay. And it's from Bloomington Ladies. Thank you for the question. She says, or he says, but I think it's a she. How do I brand my business without my personal or name being involved? Or does my name and face have to be part of my brand? I run a kindergarten.
Wow. I usually find it hard to answer this question, to be honest, because when we start businesses, they are a part of us. They are an extension of the entrepreneur, of the founder. And therefore, we have an opportunity to leverage what is so unique about the founder that then is translated into the brand, because it's especially in the first
like
few
a trust
stages.
transfer.
Yeah, in the first few stages, you're building a relationship with the person. Even if I build a relationship with the business, I'll still want to come in and ask who's behind this. So for me, when I'm advising my clients, I say we need to build it has to be consistent. It has to be parallel almost. We're building your brand as an individual, making sure you're trustworthy, and building your business's brand, making sure that now you're transferring your credibility to the business. Because I don't know how to build trust any other way currently.
The truth is, actually, I remember reading a book called Brand You. And I cannot tell you who the author is. It was a long time ago. But I remember this author saying, when you look at all the brands that have done really well globally, you know the founder.
Yeah.
And it's the trust that you have in the founder that has made the brand succeed. When you think about Apple, you know, even if he is the late, you think Steve Jobs, he did a lot of work explaining this is where we are at now. I remember watching a video that was so old, I think it was in the 90s, where he was talking about, you know, how they're having challenges, but now they have to reinvent themselves. They've now hired a new PR company, and they're trying to do these different things. And there's a journey. When you think about Safaricom, who comes to mind?
Bob Collymore.
Bob Collymore.
He really
It's
is
like
relatable.
he's so relatable. In
Yeah.
fact, I remember when the M-Pesa went out for like a day. Well, maybe it was a couple of hours. And it was such chaos because we were so used to M-Pesa. Now we trade with M-Pesa all the time. Bob, well, I don't know whether it was his phone, but he took a camera and said, guys, I am so sorry. We actually are trying to fix this thing. It's all hands on deck. We're doing the best we can. Acknowledging there was a problem. He's the face behind the brand.
And he owned it. He owned up to that. And I find that a lot of times when people say, and there is this brand PR, you know, you can actually do PR for a brand specifically that is that you can say is far removed from, like when you think of Unilever, when you think of Sunlight, I mean, you don't think of the CEO, right? You don't know who the CEO is.
In fact, by the way, it's true.
It's true, right? But it's because they've been around for how many years?
Gosh, I don't know. It's 100. They've
Over
been there since I was
100
born.
years.
I found them here.
I know. I need to you know, Coca-Cola. You don't think of who is behind Coca-Cola because they've actually, their reputation precedes them. But if you have no reputation to precede you, I mean, you're the only one. Remember how we were saying a brand is just, you know, standing in front of a customer asking to be trusted. So,
do you know what you're saying is so true? I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you.
No, I'm happy.
What you've said has just sparked something. I remember I was scrolling on my Instagram, and so there's this lady. She's a musician, and she had opened a tub of oil, and she's like, guys, I've just found this mafuta that is just, hey, it's nice, it's light. She started, you know, applying on herself, on her hands, and she's just like, let me tell you, I've really enjoyed this. The smell is this way, and this is whatever. Please get, I mean, I'm so happy with it, and this is the kind of skin I have, and it's so working for me. Do you know the next thing I did? Like, I found myself spending the next 15 minutes investigating. I've never heard of these guys. Who are these guys? I think I want to get one. How much is one? Where can I get one? And got the details of. Because of that, like, there needs to be a face behind the brand. It's not just, I mean, I'm imagining if it was just a picture that I saw of this oil or this lotion that gave all these comments about it, I'd be like, yeah, it sounds nice, but it's 1,500 or it's 2,000. Forget it.
You see, that brings actually the issue of influencers. Sometimes brands that don't want to use their, you know, the CEO's faces end up leveraging heavily on influencers to say, you've already built your brand, Rina. You come and tell the world that my brand is good. So you then leverage on that. But the power of that combined effort has a cumulative effect where the owner themselves is a, you know, is
part of the brand.
The
so they have a brand themselves as well.
Exactly. Then now if I get an influencer, it's like, you know, you're upping the ante twice, so to speak. But if you just use the power of the influencer, like what I guess all these international brands, Adidas, Tiger Woods, you do, so possible, you know, challenges can happen if you leave everything to the influencer. Because if something happens to the influencer's brand, then it has a ripple effect on your brand. You see that? So I really advise that you know, take the leap of faith and believe in yourself.
Yeah. And just put yourself out there.
Put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
And you're the best salesperson.
For your own business and your own brand. Yeah. Fantastic. So there's a couple of comments, and thank you so much, guys. Joshua Wari says, I'm tuned into this amazing, enlightening, and quite interesting show. Well done, Mutano. Thank you for your consistency, Rina. You're welcome. Keep up, and may God bless you. Thank you.
Consistency is big in branding.
It is. Declan Otaro, he says, loving the tips that Mutano is sharing. And then Thomas Mara says, take home point. 1, understand your target market.
Yes.
So key. 2 is find the edge you're adding in comparison to competitors. And he says, thirdly, brand to be heard. Catchy but true. He says, I hope I'm not far off given it's half past the program. You're not.
It's so on
not
point.
at all.
So the money.
I want to talk about, I'm looking at the time now and seeing, but I want to talk about now actual case studies.
Okay.
So I want to talk about how a brand made a mistake and came out of it. So you blunder. Or maybe let's use an example that is hot, and I'm putting you on the spot now.
Yeah.
So last week, so I've burnt with NIC for a long time. Like forever.
From Move or before?
But like this has been like from before.
Oh, really?
Before it was even Move with the nice fancy colors.
Right.
It was just NIC.
Yeah.
And then I got a Standard Chartered account and moved on with Standard, and that's how it has been. But I've always kept my NIC account.
Yeah.
It's not my primary account, but I've always kept it.
Yeah.
Now, last week, they were changing systems.
Yeah.
And I remember going on my app and I couldn't see anything. Like it was blank. It was blank. So you couldn't transfer money.
Yeah.
You couldn't pay for anything. And you know, now we become so, like I transfer money from my bank to my mobile, pay whatever I need to, pay from my bank. I mean, you know, we do things online, convenience. And they've been fantastic. But this one day I needed to do that. I couldn't. And then on one of my random groups, I go on the, so there's a Twitter link that's on there and it's about NCBA. And I'm like, okay, let me click on it and find out what's going on.
What's going on, yeah.
So I click on it and there's this conversation about how I can't access my account. You guys are so frustrating. You're worse than Kenya Power.
Yeah.
You know, like you're even worse. Can you imagine being compared to Kenya Power?
Oh my God. On the spot.
And then the CEO started responding.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is public information.
Yeah.
And some of the things that he said, I wondered about. But anyway, the CEO is not my business. I'm talking about the brand, NCBA. So they went through a challenge that other banks have been through. I mean, it happened with SCFC and Stanbic. It happened with KCB when they were changing their systems. Yeah. It's something that happens. But this one I found was so pronounced. You know, people were angry and they were expressing their anger on Twitter. The question I have for you is, what should NCBA do? Because I could end up in that mess as well. I make a statement that's wrong. I anger somebody and Twitter just burns on fire. I'm trending for 6 days because of something I said. How do you come out of that?
It's possible. I mean, the first thing in crisis communications is always to empathize. You know, you're told empathize. You're told
empathize.
Empathize.
Yeah, I think that was. So what does that entail? Like
it entails being, you know, first saying, I messed up. Being vulnerable and saying, I messed up. I should have probably sent communication to say we're going to be down. I should have, and when I notice that the amount of time that we're taking is not long. I keep informing you. So there's a process in crisis communication that is used where you empathize. If you need to apologize, please apologize. And then after that, offer a solution and state facts. You know, state facts. This is what happened. This is why it happened. And this is what we're doing about it. So a process as well.
They actually did do that.
Yeah.
They did. They communicated and said that now we are up, we apologize, we're sorry. I remember seeing a customer service person video saying, don't worry guys, we are. So who should be making that communication, guys? Yeah. We're in this situation, we are so sorry, we're working on it.
So there's usually an assigned spokesperson. It's usually the most senior person in the organization.
Who should communicate.
Yeah, because if you're the CEO, you're saying that I am, the buck stops with me. I am responsible for everything that happens in this organization. So the CEO is the one who should be able to make that statement. Before, the other thing that you can do is put out a holding statement, which is like a written communication of the same thing that he would say verbally. So if this thing happens, for example, at 3 a.m., you know, you're not he might not be in a position to wake up and say at that time, but he can send out communication and say, I'm going to communicate at this exact time, and I will have already collected this number of, you know, facts to update you. And then have like what like Hago was doing with updating almost every hour, a predictable time of update, you know, during the COVID season.
Interesting.
Yeah, so predictability is very important when you're dealing with a crisis, so that people can expect to say, okay, you updated me on this at this time. I want to know, when can I bank? Yeah.
When can I withdraw?
When can I withdraw? When can I pay? When can I?
My rent is due.
What solutions do you have for me? So if you can update, if it's very serious, you must need kind of to do it like every hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go back to the comments, and there's a question here. Ronnie says, great to see you, Mary.
Oh, yay.
When striving to be known, please mention how to prevent banner blindness. I don't even know what that is.
Okay, I think it's like, you know, when you put up a billboard and people stop seeing it after a while because it's just the same thing over and over.
Oh.
Have you seen that? Like, you see it for the first time, it communicates, and then after a while,
you stop
seeing it. You're like, I wonder what that, you know, you can't even remember where you saw it.
Or what it says.
Or what it says.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a process of continuous planning. I usually like to tell people to think about their full calendar year and to ask themselves, what are you going to say in Q1, January to March? What is your highlight? What happens in your industry? What is the key thing you can leverage that will be conversational at that time? What do you do in Q2?
Wow.
April, you know, it's Easter. And you see people doing this all the time. But it's not wrong to jump onto the bandwagon and to create your own.
Which is what we usually do.
Yeah, and it's fine. I mean, next week is customer service week. All my clients have customer service week messaging. And it's fine because the world has set up its own calendar. And the business world has its own calendar, and they expect that customers are expecting for you to tell them happy customer service week.
Come and we'll give you a flower or something.
Find our branch decorated, come drink coffee on us, because I am the reason your business is existing.
That's true.
So it's fine. It's actually okay to adhere to some of these, you know, universal calendar. It's like saying, so I'm not celebrating Christmas.
It's good to just get on the bandwagon.
Like, for real, send your customers a Christmas card. Why not? Send them a goodie bag. Why not? You know, if everybody is doing it, they'll be like, hey, you are not sent. Your people are not serious about you.
Sorry, I think we digress. So this banner blindness.
Banner blindness.
Yes.
So we talked about the calendar year and trying to think of messaging that is top of mind. Yeah, so
you have to keep changing the communication.
Yeah, you have to, because it's a dialogue, Rina. If we're talking about, I can't keep coming and telling you the same thing over. You need to go to level 2. So if I've told you, hi, my name is Mary Gitari, I am a PR advisor
hi,
and founder of Brandspark PR, you're like, you know, I cannot keep saying the same thing.
I hear you. Oh my gosh.
You have to say what next. So you can use, you know, your 5 W's and 1 H. Why? How?
What? Yeah.
Where? You know. So you have to keep telling stories that are engaging.
Keep telling stories.
Keep telling stories.
Highlight your process.
Yes.
What happens? Who do you have? How are you? Who's on your team?
Yeah.
How do you deliver?
Yeah.
What's unique about you?
Yeah.
Keep telling the story, and so people will not be blind, because it's not they say, hi, I'm
Mary Gitari. You know those dolls.
That's awesome. JM Jeroge says, great shows. Always big up Rina and your lovely host. Lovely guest. Yeah, she is lovely. Kabisa. Jane is asking, what would you say about business owners who have questionable character reputation? Though the business could be doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
Because I guess it probably refers to you talking about brand you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say about that?
It's unfortunate because there are going to be some of those people who, you've had that word of mouth spreads, faster. If you do something good, it says that you'll only get one response. If you do something bad, it will spread like wildfire, like 9 times.
Yes.
You've heard of those things.
Yes.
Those statistics are true, and therefore, if that one person doesn't take steps to correct his character, or even to just step away and say, I'm not helping this business, let me go and deal with myself, that's even more honorable than continuing to stay in that position, knowing that it's going to affect what people say about the brand or the business. Because if it's just a matter of time, if I know that so-and-so does business, he takes brown envelopes, he gives kickbacks, so he's going to attract those people. You're going to, you attract who you are.
It's true.
Right? So you're going to attract those people, and they're going to come, and you're going to be conned at some point. It's going to all backfire in your face. And unfortunately, your business could end up being collateral damage.
So I hear what you're saying. I think what I hear you saying is you could actually succeed, but it will be for the short term.
Yeah.
If you're building a long-term business that you want to hand over to your children, their grandchildren, because that's what we want to see. Brands that transcend our borders, that go into Africa and that go into the world. Then you can't build a brand with a questionable personality. You have to be a person of integrity. I think that's what I hear you saying.
Yeah, and that's my heart, really, because I see an opportunity right now, because I think we talked a little bit about how Kenya is right now in the second generation of business owners, or the first, only 1.5. So it's like our fathers, our grandfathers were employed, all right? And we're the ones now giving it all up and saying, no, I want to create something for myself. I don't want to be employed. And we are... we're learning the hard way. That's why we don't have a tried and tested version of how Africans should build businesses. We're using templates that were created from the West and from other markets that are advanced. But I pray for a time when we can actually create our own solutions. And that's why marketing is not a huge priority for many entrepreneurs now, because we're learning on the job. So in year 10 is when you're like, hey, I wonder why my business hasn't grown, and you don't know that the company you are working for had a marketing department, had a marketing budget, and you ask yourself, how come when I worked at X, I could demand any amount of money? And
no questions asked.
No questions asked. You move away from those companies, and you think you're going to start your own company, and you're going to put your service on the table or your product on the table, and people are just going to remove money, and you get a rude awakening that you haven't built your brand long enough.
It's amazing, and you're the same person offering the same service, same quality.
And in fact, you are the brains
behind it.
But they took time to build their business. So now, as this generation of entrepreneurs who are learning on the job, on the importance of that 4th P of marketing and building resilient brands, we have to shed away some of these questionable characters, because then it will not transcend. We'll only be known in our estate. And with some of us are not known in our estates. Let me not even go there.
This is so
true.
It
it becomes so like, what is it when you're so, you can only see so myopic, exactly, that's the word. You're so myopic. But if you're building a business that is going to transcend borders and generations, and a Colgate, a Bata, you have to get some things right.
Wow. Some more comments. Robert, I don't want to get into trouble. He says, I like the NCBA example. The CEO said some unprintable comments blaming technology. Your comments?
Oh, no.
Sorry, Robert, call me on the side. Elijah Munyoki, question, personal branding or business branding? I think it's similar to what somebody else asked. I am a direct response copywriter, and I'm wondering, do I brand myself as a copywriter, or should I create a business brand around it? Which is the best way?
Well,
it's a good question.
Yeah. It's not I don't know if it's an either or question, but there's opportunities to do both. If you are employed, you're currently under obligation. Is he employed? I don't know.
So I don't know. It sounds like he's doing his own business.
Or is it?
Yeah, I'm a direct response copywriter, and I'm wondering, do I brand myself as a copywriter or do I create a business? Okay, so maybe he's currently.
Yeah.
So I think my view, based on what you said earlier, is both.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I was saying.
So you have a business
Yeah.
that you've created. So create the business because you need a personality that can go beyond you.
Yeah.
And you can eventually hire people to do copywriting.
Yeah.
And after you're gone, the business can continue and help your family, right?
And what is this business? Do you see, you can be skilled
Okay, I hear
at a
what you're saying.
particular service or a
Okay.
particular, you can have a specific skill. Like if you're a bread maker, should you open a bakery? So is your business viable?
Right.
So there are all this business, this is what I'm telling you, Rina, we're literally at the beginning of our...
However, he can brand himself
Yes.
as a copywriter
Yes.
and be a consultant.
Yes.
So not necessarily
that's
employed. Yeah. I do copywriting and I
Yeah.
do fantastic copy.
Yeah.
And if you want to create a website, you want to put an ad together,
Yeah.
you want to put a notice out,
Call me.
Call me.
Call me.
and then
Yeah.
he can actually put out content every day, interesting stuff. I remember somebody was sharing with me this, I think it was an Instagram account, and there's this guy, I don't know which country he comes from. He doesn't say a word. He just holds up this carton
Yeah.
box or cardboard box that says different very funny statements, and every so often he has one up. I remember a funny one was something like, don't ask something, how we normally start our emails.
Yeah.
I trust that you're well this morning.
Yeah,
He said, I am not
don't
this morning.
ask
Don't
me."
ask me or say, I trust that you're well.
Yeah.
I mean, I've killed, massacred his statement,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
very funny sort of stuff like that.
Yeah.
That you see that and you're like, I think I need a guy like this to craft
Yeah.
my message
Yeah.
for me,
Yeah.
because it'll be creative.
Yeah, and I like that. So even think of George Kagwe or Abel Mutua. All these are people who are fun. They are
Yes.
fun individuals,
Yes.
and they are doing what they are doing as themselves.
Yes.
Right? M-Pesa Lady has come from him just playing with makeup and,
Yeah.
and reenacting very interesting conversations that happen in an M-Pesa shop.
And look what happened to him.
Look what's happened.
He got a skiza tune.
Look what happened.
He got business. Now
Yeah.
it's amazing what
Yeah,
he's done
yeah.
by just fooling around and
Yeah.
finding something that has worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really hope it didn't come across as if we're not encouraging him to open businesses. I am telling everybody to open businesses because the sooner you learn, you know how you told fail forward? Like do, fail, learn, start. Do, fail, because for us, for Africa to be liberated, I keep saying this, economic liberation will come from us actually being our own solutions.
Okay. Eliud says he's a
Yeah.
freelancer. He says
Okay.
he's a freelancer. So that will work.
That will work.
Yeah.
Let him try. Let's all get on this business bandwagon. And I'm not promising you that it's not going to work. I'm not promising you you're not going to have hard days, but you're going to learn. And that's, let's leave space for the people who need to be employed, and the people who can have businesses to employ others and to play a part in just growing our economy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What are 2 to 3 things? Takeouts. Now, let's summarize. 2 to 3 things that you would tell somebody. But before you answer that, how best can you be visible? If we take Eliud's example, he's a copywriter. How can he be visible?
Right now, the best way, the easiest platform to use is a digital platform because it has liberalized media. Yeah. So before you could only use TV, could only use newspapers, or you could only use radio. And that's why those people were celebs. Like if you watch Catherine Kasabuli passing near you, you're like,
know.
what? She looked in my direction.
I know.
So they were the only people we were seeing.
Yeah.
And the thing about media is that the more you see something, the more you trust it. Right? And that's how messaging is fast.
Say that again.
The more you see something, the more you trust
So
it.
you actually build trust by being seen more.
So increased visibility
Wow.
leads to increased trust, which leads to increased sales. In fact, that is my complete summary of everything that we've said.
That is so amazing.
Yeah.
We actually are afraid of being seen. We are shy.
And that affects our trust.
So it affects your trust.
And affects your sales, how much you can sell. If I only am known in my estate, I'll only sell in my estate.
So we need to stop hiding behind our brands.
Stop hiding and use...
Brands being your company, for
right,
example.
Yeah, and let's use our digital platforms. I mean, like now, you've managed to use this platform by just saying you're committing 1 hour every week to tell people things that you know people have given you information, and you're like,
everyone needs to hear.
Come to my show and tell everybody, my 2 followers, you know, whoever it is.
Yes.
And you've grown because people are, we're similar. We all want to hear new information. We all want to learn. And that's why the media makes so much money, because, you know, they can tell you that if you put your brand on our platform, 10 million people will see. We're a population of 42 million, I don't know, maybe going on 50 now. But that number of people watching one channel, that's a lot. And that's what digital media is doing. They're saying, even if 300 people see you, that's more than the one person next to you.
I mean, can you imagine 300 people in a room listening to you?
That's a lot.
They're potential customers.
Even if people say 25 people reacted, when are you interacting with 25 people in your day-to-day basis? Yeah. So digital media is really a good platform, but you have to think of what to say. And now the information is out there. Like I said, the internet has liberalized everything. So you cannot hide behind Sikujua. I didn't know. Yeah.
All right, time's up.
All right.
The hour is done. Gosh, thank you so much, Mary. I'm like, we need to, we're going for a consultancy session just now. So don't be in a hurry.
Build your brand to increase trust and
telling
sales.
you. Yeah. So how can people find you?
So I guess people can find me, you know, personal versus company. I am on @PR Chick Chats. This is on my Twitter and on my LinkedIn. Look for me, Mutanu Gitari. The reason I am using Mutanu is because there are millions of Marys that were born around the same time as me, and therefore I'm trying to be unique. Mutanu means happy, so you will not forget. And then Brandspark PR is brandspark.co.ke. You can visit our website. Also on our social media platforms, it's Brandspark PR.
Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming. Been such a pleasure. Power-packed information. At least my promise was fulfilled. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Please continue to watch, subscribe, like the page if you liked this video. We're on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube. And share these videos so that people can learn and grow in their in their lives and in their businesses. God bless you guys, and have a fantastic weekend ahead. Bye.